Hello, welcome back to Lessons Learned. This is the Scrappy Celebration Sew Along, and we are in week 5, I believe, and we are going to show how to put together blocks G and H. G has 4 blocks, and we find them on our grid here. Let me see. This one, this one, this one, and down here. For that reason that there's only 4, I'm just going to make all of mine the same. I have not used this fabric yet, so I think this will be a good way to get that in the mix. And also, even though all my blocks will be the same for block G, they're scattered enough that I'll get to show this fabric and also not see a lot of repetition. So this is kind of a peach with some orange flowers and a little bit of yellow and green. I think it'll be fine. And then my pink will be the opposite block. Here is the layout. You have 2 9 patches that are out of your 2 colors, and then your whites. Now, some of you who are using various different white background, low volume prints, you're going to have to make your 9 patches that way. I lucked out and happened to be using 1 fabric for all my background, so I'm just going to make, I believe that's going to be a 5-inch square there for these positions right here. And it looks like, yeah, it doesn't matter how you make them, they're all going to be set the same way, and they can be turned, so there's no, you know, only do it on this side or that side type of scenario. You can just make them all the same, and they will fit in their positions in here where they're supposed to go, no matter how you turn them, although they all are turned towards the left, at least the colored part. It's all towards the left. So I'm going to go ahead and get my fabrics cut for those and show you how those go together. Here's your layout. Take your smaller squares. You'll have a few more of your peach or your orange than you will your pink, so you'll have 5 and then 4, and so you'll make 2 identical ones. Use your scant just barely underneath the 1/4 inch of your foot to make these come out to what this one will be, which, you know, they'll all be the same if you're cutting 9 patches for these, but mine happen to turn out, well, you can guess. You can guess what size that is, but I can't tell you. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and sew up all of these and sew a block up and let you see that. A pinning tip for you, I have my 2 9-patch blocks together, and then I've added my white squares on. And, you know, a lot of times for a seam like this, I don't really pin it. But you do want to always put these opened seams up so that you can make sure that they don't flip on you. If you have a plain back here, nothing's going to flip here, but it might on here. So you want to make sure you sew this way so that you can make sure to hold those open. And you can use pins for these too. But what I wanted to show you was when you get in this situation, where, well, this is the way it goes, right? Where you have some that's just plain, and then some that are seams. So you're not going to be able to do what I just said. So that's a good time to pin. I always start from the intersection in the most in the middle. And see, those are, if you're nesting seams, it's a little bit easier to get them right on spot, but if they're open, you really do have to use a pin. I love these magic pins. They have several different kinds. The brand name is Magic Pins. It has another name too, I forget someone's name, but anyway, the packages say Magic Pins on them. But these are these forked pins, and these work really good for open seams. You just have to make sure both sides is open, and then get your pin in there like that. And as you're going along sewing, you can just kind of pull that down to your 1/4 inch so you don't have to hit the pin. And then as far as out here goes, there's nothing to match on the rest of them in this case, but you're not going to be able to see these as you're going through. These ones you can see, and you can certainly pin those. You can pin them with just a regular pin. Here's another little magic pin as well. I like these. These are very flexible. I think they're called applique pins, but I like them for just regular sewing too. But you can stick your pin back here if you want to get started, and then you can go to your either your forked pin or just your regular pin, because you are going to be able to see, you know, what you're doing, and there's nothing on the back that's going to flip on you. But it always cracks me up to see people take a pin and put it up here, and then they go to their sewing machine and just take it out. I never have understood that. So if you've got, you know, your edges together, pin it back here, and then get it going on your sewing machine. Then's the time to pull that out. Maybe a little bit on the picky side, but I don't know. I like these forked pins for these double seams like this that are open. Here is my first block G all together. I have 3 more to make. They will be identical. Yours may not be. But I wanted to mention that this fabric that I was talking about, I've had this for a long time in my stash, and I've just very sparsely used it because I love it so much. I will hate to see the day that I no longer have any of this. It's in every scrappy quilt I've made. But I hope you have some fun memories of your scraps as well. But for now, let's go on to that H block. Block H. We are going to make 5. And here they stand out pretty big in our diagram here. Here, 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 here. And they are all of your yellows. So I had only picked out 3 yellows, and I'm glad that there's a lot of difference between them, a lot of tonal difference anyway. So I'm just going to mix these up in all of these. Here is the actual layout for the block itself. You're going to have some main squares of the yellow, and then you're going to have some 4 patches with your whites. So you got a bunch of 4 patches, which is super easy. There's a lot of them, but you're only doing 5 blocks, not 6 at least. And you'll definitely want to use your scant on those 4 patches, I think. Just barely a scant. And then those all go together like that. I did want to mention that the little white squares have a fractional measurement that we don't usually use that includes 5/8. And if you're not sure about 5/8, here's your 1 inch here. You have 1/8, 1/4, 3/8, 4/8, or 1/2, and then 5/8. So it's just the tick mark that's just beyond the 1/2 inch. So just be mindful of that when you're measuring out and cutting, that's the spot you want right there. It's more than just 5/8 of an inch. It's something and 5/8 of an inch. But I did want to point that out. If you're kind of measurement challenged, some of those fractions can trip us up. Anyway, keep that in mind. But just get all your yellows out and mix all those up in there. And yeah, we only have 5. So let me cut my pieces and I'll show you how it goes together. I'm struggling a little bit. I had my 3 yellows, which was this, and this, thinking that would be enough. But there's so many pieces to this, I added in a Ruby Star Speckled. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use those for the 4 patches that I have to make first. So this will be consistent within all 5 of my blocks. And the reason why I did that is because I just don't feel like my yellows are playing well together. If I would have made the smaller yellows, the small blocks, out of these, there's so many pieces that eventually you would have something touching here, I feel. And I don't know, I just don't think that's going to work. And then so I added that in. Okay, good. I'm going to make all my blocks with those. I've already cut all the squares, so I know I'm going to do that. Now, what about these yellows not playing well together? I mean, if you put them like this, you think, oh, that's good, that looks good. But if you mix them up in here, like I did, like these two are the same, and then these three and these three. I don't want to overthink it, but I feel like it's not good. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make them all the same. The big block that's in here, this size, I'm going to make them all the same. And since I have 3 prints and I need 5 blocks, I'll have 2 repeat blocks, but that's okay because I can, you know, those are going to be spread out throughout. So I think that looks better, don't you? I think it does. And then the common denominator in those blocks will be these, which, you know, it'll kind of bring everything together, I think. So I'm going to do that. And then also, as far as the sewing goes, of course you're going to do your little 4 patches first. And you might want to go a little bit scant, 1/4 inch on those, just a little bitty bit. And then, since this is a 16 patch, once you get these together, it's a 16 patch then. So do your 4s together. Do your side by sides like this. So you do these 2 and these 2, and then these 2 strips. Do all 4 of those like that first, and then repeat that with your bigger ones. Put them together here, here, and then across here. And that way you won't have a long stretch of a seam to do and deal with all those seam allowances in one long stretch. You'll have it split up in 4s. If you can ever do that, it's a good thing. Instead of doing long strips, do squares if you can, and then put them together. That always works out way better. For me, anyway, it does. Okay, so let me get this beast together, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, there's my first H block. It got a lot smaller, didn't it? All those seams. But they all went together really well using my magic pens. I'll put a link in the description box for the magic pens if you're interested in getting some and trying those out. They're a little bit pricier than just regular pens, but I feel like they're worth it. You know, some things are worth it, some things are not. I'm not a big fan of flatter and you know, all the flattening, seam flattening things. They're nice, but I don't think they're necessary. But some things, in my opinion, are necessary, and I love the magic pens. Alright, so look for that link if you want some, and then I'm going to get busy and get all the rest of my blocks finished and give you a little show of those to end this video. Thanks for hanging out with me to do these blocks today. I hope you are on schedule. If you're a little bit behind, don't worry. We'll take a little bit of a break between sew-alongs here coming up, so you will have some time to get caught up. And looks like we're reaching I think we're more than halfway done. So not too many more weeks left of this sew along. So hope you've enjoyed it so far. I've found it fun, and we'll be anxious to see all of your quilt tops here before long. Alright, if you have any questions or problems, leave them in the comments. Send me an email, however you want to communicate with me. And also you can post your finished blocks on the Facebook page now, but save your finished tops for later, because we'll have a show of just those. Alright, that's all for this episode of your Wednesday video, the Scrappy Celebrations Sew Along. I'll see you next week for week 6 or 7. I can't remember. Bye!